Oh, sorry. Good afternoon, guys. Today is the last technical session of this series of these conferences, which has been held since last 3 days. This technical session, I welcome Dr. Nancy. She's the now assistant professor and the department head of the Royal College of Tamil Nadu, Chennai, Tamil Nadu, India. She did her completed her PhD from Jawaharlal Nehru University. Now it is serving as a department head on this college of international relations. She is our good friend, and the part of this Indo-Russian Foundation is one of my considered as one of the best sister for this sister of mine. Thank you. Welcome, Dr. Nancy. Please share to the session. We have 6 presentation today. I welcome to all the participants for this technical sessions. Over to you, Nancy, please.
Good evening, and thank you, Bhaiya, and for the Indo-Russian Foundation for giving me this opportunity to chair the session. There's more to learn, and I'll continue to learn a lot from the Indo-Russian Foundation. And the great tribute goes to Professor Arun Mohanty, who is no more with us, but he's blessing us throughout whatever the program we are initiating in the name of the Indo-Russian Foundation. So I don't take much time because we are running short of a time and we have to complete the session within an hour. So on those lines, I will introduce the speakers quickly and we will start the session, so that I'll also set the time limit for each participants. How much, how long the presentations can go on, so that we can also have a brief time to go for a question and answer session. So we have totally 6 presentation, and today's technical session is all about socio-cultural relations. When we look at the social cultural relations, we generally talk about the society and the culture of the India-Russia. But when I look at the papers which are there in this technical session, which have a balance of socio-cultural, political, and even the reason pandemic is also part of the presentation. So on those lines, we have a speaker, Rima Saxena from New Delhi. She'll be presenting on strong Indo-Russian bilateral relations and assets to reduce communicable disease burden in both the nations. And the second presentation is Dibyotit Sahu from Balasur. He presents India's Russia's policy between romanticism and realism. He's going to take us back to the historical period. And we have another presentation from Lyudmila Belauza from Lipetsk University. She's going to discuss about the Government of India Act 1935 and its assessment by contemporaries, because it is one of the important act in our constitution which talks the entire features of our Indian constitution. And we have Alexander Jipalau from the same university. He's going to talk about the special session of the Indian National Congress in Delhi in 1923 and the role of Abdul Kalam Azad in preserving the unity of the party, which is the need of the hour. And we have Manish Tarun from Central University of Rajasthan. He is going to discuss about the protecting privacy in digital age, a case study of Samatispur district of Bihar. And we have Priyanka Goswami from Central University of Rajasthan. She's going to talk about urban drinking water management and governance, the study of drinking water service in Jammu City. So I'll hand over the session to the speakers, and I request all the speakers, each one to take 7 minutes exactly. And I don't want to interrupt you during your presentation. So I'll be watching the time. I will expect you to finish it sharply in 7 minutes, so that we'll have a space for the question answer session. So that will enhance your paper to what to add and what to be removed from your, the session, what you're going to present now. So to give a space for that, we're directly going for the session. And let me call Rima Saxena, International Institute of Health Management Research, New Delhi. All the very best, Rima.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am. I hope my screen is visible.
Yes.
Yes, Rima, please go ahead. Yes, Rima, please go ahead.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you all are doing well and keeping safe. Today, I, Rima Saxena, a student of International Institute of Health Management and Research, Delhi, is going to draw a comparison between tuberculosis program of India and the Russian Federation, which will help us to learn from one another in making our country's TB programs better. It is a well-known fact that TB kills more than 5,000 children among women and men each day and leaves no country untouched. It is one of the leading killers amongst people of working age, which creates and reinforces a cycle of ill health and poverty, with potential catastrophic social and economic consequences for families, communities, and countries. While recognizing the higher prevalence of TB amongst men, women and children are also vulnerable to the consequences of TB due to gender, age, social, and health inequalities, such as poor health, literacy, limited access to health services, stigma, discrimination, and exposure to the infection to the care as caregivers. Moreover, MDR-TB accounts for 1/3 of all AMR-related deaths. TB is also the principal cause of death amongst people living with HIV/AIDS, where stigma and discrimination remains critical barriers to TB care. Now I will be talking about the major barriers to TB care in both the nations. First is multi-drug resistant tuberculosis. MDR-TB poses a serious threat to the maintenance of an effective TB control strategy. MDR-TB is caused by inadequate or incomplete treatment. It can also be caused by an interruption in the supply of essential drugs or by poor quality drugs. It is a potential, drugs. If a patient has not completed treatment successfully, or if the treatment is ineffective, he or she continues to transmit M. tuberculosis, which may be resistant to primary drugs. Next, I will be talking about tuberculosis and HIV. TB is the most common cause of death in persons with HIV infection throughout the world. HIV infection accelerates the development of TB disease due to a weakened immune system. Thus, when a patient has a dual diagnosis of TB and HIV, both disease progress more rapidly. Next is the impact of COVID pandemic on TB control program. COVID-19 has slowed down TB programs in almost all the countries across the globe as human resource and budget that were assigned to the TB control programs were relocated to curb the situation created by the pandemic. Now I'd be talking about the initiatives taken by both the countries to end TB. In 2017, the Indian Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji set the target of ending TB in India by 2025. To achieve this target, national, state, and district TB forums are established. Several chief ministers of the Indian states have developed their own state TB elimination plans, and special initiatives like making TB-free panchayats are also being promoted. And address the TB endemic in Russia. A high-level working group on TB was established 20 years ago in the country. It includes representatives from the penitentiary services, research institutes, and international agencies like the World Bank and an International Organization of Migration. Measures to combat TB in the Russian Federation include a combination of medical and non-medical multi-sectoral measures, such as social support for TB patients, which include job retention, paid sick leaves, preferential disability pension, provision of housing, and free drug to TB patients. Because of these constructive initiatives taken by Russian Federation, the country in 2019 managed to reduce TB death rate by 10%. Now I will be talking about TB burden on India and Russia. As per WHO's report, India accounts for 26% of total global TB burden, and Russia, even though is amongst the 7 high TB burden countries, yet it has reached the 2020 milestone with a reduction of 19% in the TB incidence rate between 2015 and 2019. Although drug-resistant TB continues to be a public health threat for both nations, with India having 27% cases and Russia having 8% cases globally. Due to some reason, both the countries lag behind when it comes to collection of TB-related data. National Drug Resistance Survey in India was last conducted in 2016, and in Russia, it was last conducted in the year 2000. While National TB Prevalence Survey in India was last conducted in 2019, and surprisingly, no such survey has ever been conducted in Russia as per Global Tuberculosis Report 2020. India and Russia both have high TB and MDR TB burden, whereas only India has high HIV TB burden. The reason to why India has such high TB burden in all the 3 parameters is that almost 15% of Indian population is still undernourished, which is a prime reason for TB, as malnutrition causes low immunity, which escalates the chances of getting infected by TB. Now I will be talking about the TB elimination program in India. The National Tuberculosis Elimination Program is the public health initiative of the Government of India, which functions as a flagship component of NHM and provides technical and managerial leadership to anti-tuberculosis activities in the country. The program was formed with the goal of achieving a TB-free India by 2025 with 0 deaths, disease, and poverty caused by TB. Thus, to achieve this goal of eliminating TB by 2025, NSP TB have been integrated into the 4 strategic pillars of DTPB, which means detect, treat, prevent, and build. First is detect. Detection aims at finding all drug-sensitive and drug-resistant TB cases. It will also ensure early diagnosis and treatment by making mandatory for healthcare providers to inform Ministry of Health and Family Welfare about new TB cases. To facilitate TB notifications, RNTCP has developed a case-based, web-based TB surveillance system called the NICSHE for both government and private health facilities. In addition to this, free drug and diagnostic tests for TB patients in private sectors will be done. Second is treat. Main objective for treatment is to sustain all TB patients on appropriate anti-TB treatment with patient-friendly systems for forming social support groups and intensifying TB control activities in vulnerable sections of the society. In addition to this, Nikshay Poshan Yojana is a scheme under NHM which was launched to solve the problem of malnutrition amongst TB patients by providing financial incentives of rupees 500 per month for nutritional support to each notified TB patient. Third is prevent. Prevention of TB can be done by scaling up of airborne infection control measures at healthcare facilities. For TB prevention in children below 6 years of age, isoniazid preventive therapy is recommended. Also, BCG vaccination is a must at birth or till 1 year of age, as it has got protective effect against meningitis, disseminated TB in children. Lastly, I will be coming on to build. The TB control program can further be built by strengthening our health systems, making strong policies, empowering institutions and human resources with enhanced capacity. Now, I will be talking about the national TB control strategy of the Russian Federation.
Rima, I can give you another minute.
Yes,
Give it 2 minutes.
Yes, I will cut down.
Yeah, please, Samta.
First is the high-level working group on tuberculosis. It was set up in August 1999 through a joint initiative of the Ministry of Health of Russian Federation with WHO, with an aim to enhance patient care through investments, renovating and equipping new laboratory and diagnostic facilities, and purchasing expendable supplies like second-line antibiotics and TB drugs. Now, I will come down to Moscow Declaration to end TB by 2030. Aim of Moscow Declaration was to make healthcare providers achieve detection of at least 90% of TB case and their successful treatment. It also aims to achieve rapid progress towards the goal of universal health coverage through health system strengthening and actively engage people and communities affected by TB. Another objective of the declaration was to minimize the risk of development and spread of drug resistance by advancing research and development, as well as rapid uptake of new and more effective tools for diagnosis, treatment, and drug regimes. With this, I come to an end of my presentation. Thank you.
Rima, thank you so much for keeping up your time. Right, we will get back to you during the question answer session so that you can elaborate us, in more detail, right? And thank you for sharing with us the target of India and Russia in eradicating the TB, right? Kindly stop sharing your screen, Rima, so that I can call the next person. Thank you. Okay, can I call upon Dibjot Sahu, FM University, Vaishya Vihar, Balasur, to present India's Russia policy between romanticism and realism. Over to you, Sahu. Thank you, Rima. Is Sahu is here? Yes.
Some letter, the next speaker, please invite some next speaker.
Okay. So if next person is ready, can we have Lyudmila Belosava to present the Government of India Act 1935 and its assessment by contemporaries. Lyudmila. Yes, thank you. Over to you.
Hello.
Yes.
Okay. My report is about the Government of India Act 1935. In June 1930, a report of the Simon Commission was published containing a recommendation for the future constitutional order of India. To discuss the Commission's report and draft a new law, in November 1930, the first roundtable conference with the participation of representatives of India began in London, the main result of which was a decision to create a federation. The Indian National Congress, which was in opposition, took part in only the second of three conferences. But however, this did not help to make a decision that satisfied everyone. In 1935, after 4 years of preparation at all levels, the Government of India Act was passed. It consisted of two parts, the federal scheme and provincial powers, concerning the governor's provinces. Compared to the preview law of 1919, it gave real power to Indians at the provincial level. But the central administration remained completely subordinate to the British Crown. The law was controversially assessed by the British political elite. The Conservative Party believed that India received too many freedoms under the law, while the Labour Party argued that the proposed law was not a solution to the Indian problem. The Labour Party decided to support a policy of self-determination and self-government and demand that freely elected representative of the Indian people. The editor of Modern Review, Ramandendra Chatterjee, in his article The New Imperialism, assessed the law as follows. The main purpose of the Act 1935 is to safeguard and protect British interest in India. This constitution is marked by a bias against the people of India. It is anti-democratic and protects the privileges of the British state rules capitalist. According to the another contemporary, Knight of the British Empire, John Cotman, the proposed law was optimal, since the Indian people have no experience of self-government. And another part of the law concerned the provinces, which were headed by governors appointed by the British Governor of India, the Governor-General. The provincial scheme proposed by the law also did not satisfy and if the political forces in India. The Indian National Congress, which was the most numerous party and positioned itself as a national organization, put forward its slogan, Purna Swaraj, and could not be satisfied with the law that did not contain any problems about the future restriction of the country. The resolution of the Muslim League said, the League considers that having regard to the conditions prevailing at present in a country, the provincial scheme of the constitution be utilized for what it is worth in spite of the most objectionable fees contained therein. The League is clearly of the opinion that the All India Federal Scheme of the central government embodied in the Government of India Act of 1935 is fundamentally bad. It's most reactionary, retrograde, injurious and fatal to the vital interest of British India vis-à-vis the Indian states, and it is. Other parties in India, which did not claim a national character, immediately agreed to participate in the work of the constitutional reform, and in confirmation of this, in December 1935, a conference was held in Tula. It decided that such a constitution is better than nothing, and we need to try to make it more acceptable. A similar decision was made by the Hindu Mahasabha Party in Pune and the National Liberal Federation in Nagpur. One of the reasons for dissatisfaction was the introduction of weightage system, according to which some communities received more seats in the legislature than they could count on the number of their representatives. In fact, Muslims gained significant dominance in the legislature in Punjab, Northwest Frontier Province, Sindh, and Bengal. But provincial scheme gave real power to the regional governments, but at the same time endowed the governor and governor-general with great administrative and legislative powers. The governor had special powers, allowing him to make decisions without consulting the Council of Ministers. There was no consensus within Congress about the new law. Representative of the left wing of Congress, Jawaharlal Nehru and Subhas Chandra Bose, believed that it was necessary to continue the campaign of non-cooperative and refused to participate in the work of Act. Nehru believed that participating in election and accepting minister post would be a fatal mistake. But the right wing of Congress pushed for the need to pass a new constitution and run for provincial legislature. Palandat, theoretical of the Communist Party in Great Britain, noted that the right-wing elements flirted with other elements outside the Congress, refrained from participation in the common struggle and stand for cooperation with imperialism. In Soviet Union, the assessment of the new law was unequivocal. It was said that the law was passed with the aim of strengthening British rule, and it is an expression of the colonial powerlessness of India. Indian political forces were disappointed with the moderate nature of the new law, which the press called a slave constitution. An important indicator of the attitude of the population to the new constitution was the result of the 1937 election. The parties that were hostile to the 1935 Act won, and those parties that expressed their intention to cooperate with the British were defeated. Thus, the law met with opposition from influential political forces in the country, even despite the difference between them. Great Britain, reluctant to make concession to Indian society's granting more autonomy, has led to the abandonment of one part of the new constitution. The government in the Act 1935 was the next.
I can give you 1 more minute. You can try to conclude it.
Okay, the Government of India Act 1935 was the next round of British divide and rule in India. It's all. Thank you for your attention. It's all.
Yeah, thank you so much. I know I can understand it's not easy to do. It was one of the longest acts until 1999, right? It's not that easy to conclude it in that time frame. Thank you so much, Ludmila. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, can I call upon the next presenter, Alexander Japalau, to present the special session of International Congress? Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, ma'am.
Well, I'm Professor Chereshneva. Alexander is my student. I'm sorry he has no opportunity to make his report today.
Thank you, ma'am. It's perfectly all right. Thank you so much for informing us. Thank you. I'll go for the next speaker. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So unfortunately, we could not have Alexander Japalau today. So can I call upon the next presenter, Manish Tarun from Central University of Rajasthan, Protecting Privacy in Digital Age, a case study of Samastipur district of Bihar. Over to you, Manish. All the best.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Can you switch on your video? Can we see you, please, Manish?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, yes.
Yes, yes.
Is it visible, ma'am? Yeah.
Yes, Manish. Thank you. Please go ahead. And your time starts now. Please go ahead.
Okay, ma'am. So, good evening to all. Myself, Manish Tarun, PhD scholar, Department of Public Policy, Law and Governance, Central University of Rajasthan. I would like to thank Eurasian Federation and my guide, Dr. Gyandanjan Panda sir, to provide me the opportunity to participate in this conference. So, my topic is Protecting Privacy in Digital Age, a case study of Samastipur district of Bihar. So, first of all, what is privacy? So, privacy is not an absolute term, and understanding about privacy is differing people to people, place to place, and in different societies, understanding is different. In 1890, Warren and Brandeis, in his paper, defined privacy as the right to be let alone or to be free from misuse or abuse of one's personal information. Moreno, in 1982, defined privacy as the right to live a life without any unwarranted interference, a life of seclusion, and to have control over one's personal information. The concept of privacy is not new in India. Upanishadic literature describes meditation, which is to be done without any outside disturbances. In Griha Sutra, Ramayana, Mahabharata, it manifests ample consideration and respect for one's privacy. A person was not to be disturbed while studying, sleeping, meditating, and while attending and discharging his religious duties. But nowadays, due to invention of modern information and communication technology and advancement in the field of data analytics, AI, IoT, mainly informational privacy is at stake. So, what is informational privacy? Westin in 1967 defined informational privacy as the claim of individuals, groups, or institutions to determine for themselves when, how, and to what extent information about them is communicated to others and for what purpose others use that information. So, data is the fuel in this informational world. So, in this digital era, it is necessary to ensure that protection of data of every citizen. So this research work deals with the privacy and data protection of common people where digital literacy is very low, as well as less awareness about privacy and data protection. So objective of the research is to know the level of awareness among people about privacy and data protection, to find out the issues and challenges they are facing while using social media sites, to recommend some concrete suggestions so that awareness programs can be introduced and people will get benefit of that. So, privacy in India. Supreme Court in a judgment in 2017 ruled that right to privacy is a fundamental right in India and it comes under the ambit of Article 21 of the Constitution. After this landmark judgment, some reasonable restriction on right to privacy, like in the matters of safety and security of nations, imposed. There are many laws that collectively deal with the privacy matters in India. For instance, IT Act 2000, Indian Telegram Act 1985, IPC, and CRPC. According to IT Act Section 66E, violating privacy is a cybercrime. Indian government tabled a data protection bill in 2019 in the parliament based on the recommendation of G.N. Sri Krishna Committee. Recently, government come up with the IT Rules 2021 to strike a balance between the media rights, free speech, and citizens' right to correct information. In this, identification of the first originator of the information would be required in case of an offense related to sovereignty and integrity of India. A three-level grievance redressal mechanism has been mandated. We know that jurisdiction is the authority of a person or a body to exercise the power. But there are two types of jurisdiction. First, prospective jurisdiction, and second is enforcement jurisdiction. So in enforcement jurisdiction, that is the ability of the state to enforce its laws. Since India doesn't have a comprehensive data protection mechanism, the main enactment that deals with the protection of data is the IT Act. And IT and information technology, reasonable security practices and procedures, and sensitive personal information rules 2011. The Information Technology Act under Section 75 specifies the jurisdiction of the Act, which states that the Act covers all the offences committed in and outside India. The terms and policies of a particular website have only domestic laws applicability. So when the question arises as to international crime, then a person may be trapped in the applicability of law. So if the crime is originating from other country, we will be dependent on cooperation and good relationship with the crime originating country. In 2018, European Union passed General Data Protection Regulation bill. In that bill, there are many provisions like right to access and right to be forgotten, withdrawal of consent. GDPR extends the territorial boundary and does not apply to organizations located only in EU but also beyond EU. In case of breach under GDPR, an entity can be fined up to the higher of 4% of annual worldwide turnover. India-Russia cybersecurity cooperation. So India and Russia both facing similar cybersecurity threat. They signed cybersecurity agreement on the sidelines of BRICS summit in Goa in 2016. India-Russia also stepped up cybersecurity cooperation after attack on Kundalikulam nuclear power plant in 2019. India and Russia can cooperate more extensively in the research and development of cybersecurity technology to protect their cyberspace from any kind of cyber attacks. So now I will be discussing my findings and conclusion. So my finding was that first, people of all age groups are accessing social media sites. 76% of the participants were aware about privacy and data protection terms. 70% of participants were aware about privacy and security settings, but 50% of them never changed their privacy and security settings. Due to that, it seems that they are very much vulnerable to privacy and data breach. 84% of the participants think that privacy and security settings provided on social media sites are not enough to protect their privacy. 40% of the participants are not aware that social media companies are collecting and processing their personal data. 92% of the participants never read terms and conditions for use, privacy and data policy of social media companies because it is very long and difficult to understand. Most of the time, the language of terms and conditions are in English. 40% of people told that social media companies are collecting and processing data, but they don't know for what purpose they are doing that. They also don't know about social media companies sharing their data with third parties. Participants don't know about the data localization, but when I make them understand that it means Indian people's personal data will be stored in India, then they said that yes, it should be stored in India. People feel that they are more connected, informed, and empowered after accessing social media platforms. They said that they can share their ideas, views, and personal information through my social media sites, and it will reach my friends and family very quickly. Participants also accepted that they should have the right to delete the personal data on the request. They should have the right to withdraw their consent on the request. If there are any kind of privacy violations to social media, they also want compensation. It should be either monetary compensation or some kind of punishment.
Manish, can you conclude it quickly?
Yes, sure. So my suggestion for all the stakeholders, like for government, social media companies, and for users. So for government, some suggestions are: government should start online courses in the local or regional languages to make people digitally literate. There should be right-based data protection model in place of consent-based data protection. Government should develop extraterritorial jurisdiction enforcement mechanism. Government should come up with a comprehensive data protection law like GDPR to protect the privacy of citizens. For social media companies, terms and conditions should be made available in local languages, and it should be concise and short so that anyone can read it properly and know what consent they are providing to access the social media platform. There should be the right to delete the personal data on the request of the users. Social media companies should provide more user-friendly and user-informed policies so that people must be aware about the use of their data. And lastly, for social media users, attend some social media privacy, digital literacy awareness workshops, seminar, webinar. Don't share personal identifiable information like bank account details, family details, health data, or some of your personal pictures on social media sites. Continuously check updates for privacy and security settings. Never accept unknown person friend request. Never click on unknown link. Be wary of offers that are too good to be true and catchy headlines. Always check HTTPS spellings while clicking on any external links. Continuously keep clearing history cookies on your browser. That's all. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Sahu, for bringing this important topic to the discussion forum and your suggestions. As an young generations, you have given us suggestions like how social media and how others should work on bringing the comprehensive policy towards the the privacy. Thank you so much. Thank you. Can we have a next presenter, Priyanka Goswami? Urban Drinking Water Management and Governance, the study of drinking water service in Jammu city. I'm sorry, Manish,
Yes,
I
ma'am.
addressed Sabu. Sorry. Right. Yeah. Yes, Priyanka.
Good evening, ma'am. This is Priyank.
Yes. Yes, Priyank. Please go ahead.
Yes. Can I share the screen?
Yes. Yes. Yes, please. Already the rights have been given to you. You can.
So is it visible? I guess.
Yes. Yes, Priyanka.
So good evening to all present here, and many thanks to the Indo-Russian Foundation for this opportunity. My topic basically deals with the utility services in the important state of Jammu and Kashmir. It basically deals with the policy making and evaluation study, and primarily a review study of the literature available at this moment. I basically deal with the governance and the public service delivery mechanism in this paper. Basically, if we see to the policy making, it's about a multi-dimensional and a complex process which involves the various sectors and the stakeholders per se. Very important incident happened in the state of Jammu and Kashmir in 2019 when the Article 370 was abrogated, and this paper basically deals with what happened post abrogation of Article 370 in the state of Jammu and Kashmir, and how this governance paradigm changed, and how this the public service delivery perspectives have evolved with the various center laws that are now applicable in the state of Jammu and Kashmir. I'll begin with the public service delivery in the urban areas of Jammu and Kashmir. Service delivery, basically, it's conceptualized as a relationship between the policymakers, service providers, and the poor people. This includes various services, including social services, infrastructure services, and the services that promote the social security. Jammu and Kashmir, as such, is not much developed in terms of public service delivery, but we have the Public Service Delivery Guarantee Act, which was mandated in 2011, which had 14 departments and 95 services under its ambit. Now, coming to my topic quickly, this is the urban drinking water management and the governance. If we look present at the Indian scenario, this mega trends like the demographic growth, urbanization, and the climate change, it has increasingly affected the water availability within the cities, and where the most of the people will be living by 2050, as reported in the various literature. The urban water sector is facing the significant level of challenges of water availability on the one hand, and the limited and the financial capacity to deliver the basic safe water to all. So water supply in India is a state subject, and the constitutional provisions enable both the center and state to perform the various functions, including the planning and managing the water resources, the financing the water supply to the municipalities in urban areas as such. India is one of the world's most water-stressed countries and will become the water scarce with time. The per capita water availability, as mentioned in the various reports, is 1465 cubic meter, and it will go on increased in the coming time.
Priyanka, sorry for the intervention. Yeah, please put in the full slide mode, please. Full slide mode.
Sure.
Thank you.
Is it okay, sir?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. So the governance is basically a more inclusive concept than the government per se. It embraces the relationship between the society and its government. Governance involves the mediating behaviors via values, norms, where possible through laws. One of the basic pillar of the management studies and the theories and practices is that nothing can be improved if it is not measured. In India, very little attention is paid to the performance measurement of water services. The Urban Water and Sanitation Benchmarking, which was endorsed by the 13th Finance Commission, provides for the performance measurement as a key tool of outcome analysis. This benchmarking for the urban water and sanitation sector have been formulated and can broadly be defined as a minimum set of standards performance parameters that are commonly understood and used for all the stakeholders across the country. Now, urbanization in Jammu and Kashmir. According to Census 2011, the erstwhile state of Jammu and Kashmir has 27% of its population living in urban areas. The population increased by 36.42% during the last decade and higher than the national average of 31.1%. So obviously we can see that the urbanization is taking place at a much higher rate as compared to the national average. The successive attempts to rectify the situation at the local level is frustrating due to the ineffective devolution of 74th Amendment Act in the state, thus weakening the capacity and structural development at the urban centers. The two major capital cities of Jammu and Kashmir is the Jammu and the Srinagar cities, where the majority of the urban population is concentrated with the smaller town share the rest. Srinagar city in the Kashmir division holds primacy with more than 1 million population with its defined city region. And the same is the case with the Jammu division. And we have two main municipal corporations, Jammu Municipal Corporation and Srinagar Municipal Corporations, which virtually deals with the urban services, which including the sanitation, water supply services at this moment. So municipal governance or local governance in Jammu and Kashmir can be traced back to mid-90s. Apart from the increase in number of municipal committees and councils, nothing much has improved with respect to devolution of functions specified under the 74th Amendment Act. The state administration recently, post abrogation of Article 370, devolved certain functions to municipal corporations, but certain scholars seem skeptic of this absence of this proper fiscal devolution, which is seen as a backdrop or a backbone of the development of any development agenda. The governance in the twin cities of Jammu and Srinagar, however, is evolving with the entry of multiple stakeholders and the private actors in the infrastructure creation projects. The twin capital cities are the part of Government of India much talked and debated the smart cities mission, which would boost the infrastructural development. Moreover, the cities are also the part of central government Atal Mission for Rejuvenation and Urban Transformation, Amrut Mission. Amrut Mission, it believes in the infrastructure creation should have a direct impact on the real needs of the people, and hence focus should be on infrastructure creation with a direct link to provision of better services to the people. Compared to the other cities of Jammu and Kashmir, Jammu has a maximum concentration of communities, facilities and services, which includes the educational infrastructure, health infrastructure, etc. The increase in the migration of the population from Kashmir Valley and the rural centers has led to an increase in the private infrastructure in education and health services. Now, the drinking water distribution network in Jammu and Srinagar city. Water supply is a state subject, and so the provision of the water distribution in the state, in the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir also rests with the Jal Shakti Department. At present, the state, it generally plans, design and execute the water supply schemes through its various state departments or state-owned corporations. But in the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, it's a Jal Shakti Department which primarily deals with it. Both the twin cities of Jammu and Srinagar, they are on the banks of river Tavi and Jhelum. Particularly, if we would see that there is not much, deficiency or unavailability of the water, but much rests on the governance and the management of that available water. Apart from the rivers like Chenab, Jhelum, Indus River, the region is gifted with a number of water bodies, including tributaries, lakes, and wetlands. The potable water system was introduced in Jammu and Srinagar city at the beginning of 20th century. The drinking water services at this moment is being managed by the State Public Health Engineering Department, and which is now being renamed as Jal Shakti Department. The erstwhile state government also enacted the Jammu and Kashmir Water Resources Regulation and Management Act in 2010. So drinking water network, if you see that the Jammu city has the second highest urban population in Jammu and Kashmir. The Srinagar city has 95% of its population living under the municipal limits, and Jammu has the 50%. The present demand of the drinking water in the twin cities is around 246 million liters water per day. Water supply in the Jammu city is divided into 7 water supply zones, which is governed and managed by the state Jal Shakti Department, and further by divided into 59 and 49 isolated subzones in the west and east of Jammu. Srinagar has its water liftment from the river Jhelum, and subsequently the city developed around the peripheries of some water bodies like Dal Lake, Nagin Lake, and the Brari Numbal, and it's being divided into 5 different water supply zones, which distributes the water in the entire city. According to Jal Shakti Department, the Srinagar city has installed capacity of 90.25 million gallon of water daily, while at present this generation is only about the 68.55 million gallon daily. The city, although has a surplus availability, the drinking water services face serious water crisis due to micro distribution level issues, and which worsens in the winter cities in the winter weather. So various reforms which have been taken up till date. Post abrogation of Article 370, the various rules and laws were of the central laws were mandated and devolved in the union territory also. 140 water supply schemes along with the allied infrastructure has been transferred to the municipal corporations of Jammu and Srinagar for their operation and maintenance, besides the transfer of 3,222 kilometers of distribution network of various schemes. All that the staff have also been is now under the municipal corporation. The government of Jammu and Kashmir in the year 2010 enacted the Jammu and Kashmir Water Resources Regulation and Management Act along with the state water policy. Along with the other reforms, the central reforms like the service level benchmarking is also being undertaken.
Priyank, it's very interesting, but you need to conclude. We left a few more minutes for the questions. Right?
Yes, it's concluding remarks, like what needs to be done from this stage. Like with the change in the administration and the transfer in the functions of urban local bodies, the administration as well as the urban local bodies at all levels should bridge the gaps in infrastructure and services delivery with the regular performance measurement and evaluation. The service level benchmarking principles should be applied, and all the 11 principles should be monitored continuously. It has been reported like the social sector service delivery that governance is the weakest and the most crucial links that need to be dealt with. Apart from it, the focus should also be made to accommodate all the stakeholders in the decision-making process and the governance of public services. Apart from the public investment, public-private partnership model should be incorporated effectively to re-establish the public institution and reorganize the public administration for better service delivery.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Priyan. Thank you. Thank you for bringing us all the way about the water management in Jammu and Kashmir. Right? Probably you will have more questions to be answered. Thank you. You can stop sharing your screen. Do we have any other presenters who have joined late? Because Dibyojit Sahu is here.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. You will get exactly 6 more minutes to present your paper. Right? We are taking a time off for the question answer session, and we are giving you a platform to present. You're there? Could you please unmute yourself? I could not see you. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Indo-Russian Foundation for giving me a very good opportunity to give my speech regarding the India-Russia relationship. And thank you, madam, for giving me a chance.
5 minutes. All right, 5 minutes. Sahu. Yes, please go ahead.
My topic is India-Russia policy between romanticism and realism. Okay, Russia has always remained a key pillar of India's foreign policy and a long-standing, time-tested partnership of India. When President Vladimir Putin visited India in October 2000, India has signed a declaration on Russia's strategic partnership with Russia, and India-Russia ties have acquired a qualitatively new character with magnified levels of engagement in almost all areas of bilateral relationship, including political, defense, security, trade, and science, and technological and cultural. Under the strategic partnership, several institutionalized dialogue mechanisms operate at both political and official levels to ensure regular interaction and follow up on cooperative activities. During the visit of Russian President to India in December 2010, the strategic partnership was elevated to the level of special and privileged strategic partnership. From the recent information to the high-level diplomatic engagement. India and Russia have always maintained their ties since the beginning. Diplomatic diplomatic to intergovernmental commission one trade, economic, science and technological cultural cooperation, co-chaired by external affairs ministers and the Russian deputy prime minister. The another one is military technical cooperation, co-chaired by Russian defense minister and Indian defense minister, meet annually. Indian community in Russia Federation is estimated at about 5,000 approximately. In addition to 2,000 Afghan national of India live in Russia, and 500 Indian businessmen also settled in Russia, and also 200 workers they are working in Russia, and also have good relationship with Russia. India, Russia also in military sector also we have good relations, and we have taken joint cooperation in between Russia and India, and we also do so many important works like joint military exercise and other things with Russia. And also from we start that the Indian relationship, as you know that in history we find that India-Russia relationship is very good, and from boyer-seller relationship to we now to reach at the level that we are now a partnership in between Russia and India military sector. And also so many important issues, so many important things we are done, we are carried out with we Indians with Russia, that the so many important innovations, military innovations, also so many important things that BrahMos missile system and joint fighter aircrafts and aircraft as well as licensed production Indian Su-30 aircraft and T-90 tank missiles also we are jointly and we borrowed from Russia, and we also engaged in our military section, so many others also.
Sahu, would you like to conclude, Sahu?
No, madam. I have some extra. Then
yeah, I can give you 2 more minutes, right? You can conclude.
Thank you, madam.
Yes, please.
In nuclear sector, we also have good relationship with Russia, because in nuclear sector, the Russia always provides so many nuclear reactors and also so many nuclear technologies to India. Before we go to history, we find that in 1974, when India tested the nuclear bomb, fast nuclear bomb, but it is the help of Russia, and Russia provided help to India to test nuclear bomb in India, in the ground of India. But the whole world, the American West, they sanctioned India when the India tested nuclear bomb. But it is the only friend of Russia, only the good friend. Russia shows the good friend and good attitudes, and never sanctioned upon India economically or other activities. But today, the Russia also provide also give equipment to the Kudalkulam nuclear power plant, and also that is located in Tamil Nadu. And also Russia also provides so many equipments, so many things. And also two agreement was signed in 1988, that the first was the Russia provide 1,000 mega electricity to India in 2013. It is now operating under the year warranty maintenance piece, which still until 2015. The GlassNav navigation, remote sensing and other social applications in outer space. In 2015, the space agencies have signed a MOM and explanation of cooperation in the field of explanation use of outer space for peaceful purposes. India have lack of deficiency in energy and also so many things, but Russia have sufficient energy. And it is our political leaders to give restress that we have lack of energy deficient, but Russia has surplus energy. So we want Russian energy, and Russia also provide. If we request kindly, and that is our one, this energy we enjoy. We set in our civilian purposes and so many other purposes. Thank you,
Okay.
madam. It is,
Thank you
I
so
conclude.
much,
Thank
Sahu.
you all the
You know,
participants. Those were
thank you, Sahu. But you know, we are running short of time, so we have to conclude. But thank you for giving us, you know, in a very short span of time, you're able to give us about the entire bilateral relationship between India and Russia, right? So I thank each and every presenter. Can you hear me, Bhaiya? Is it clear?
Yes, it's audible.
Yes. Yes. So I thank each and every presenter who were there in the panel. And we should really appreciate this young presenter in this session to come out. And we should really thank Eurasian Foundation for giving them the platform from what they are so that they can do much more better in the future presentations of whichever is coming up. So we thank Eurasian Foundation and we thank each and every panelist for their presentation. Any question towards the panelists or any appreciation, I would really appreciate everyone to give them a commendable appreciation to giving this presentation in a very short span of time with the time frame of 7 to 10 minutes. They were able to do justice in all the papers, whatever they were presented. So I congratulate each and everyone. Thank you so much. Over to you, Sunandaya. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Nancy. Brilliantly managed these sessions, this third final technical session. All these papers are really wonderful papers, and all various, they presented in the various angles of the particular the Indo-Russian relationship and the domestic development of both Russia and India. The time is very short. Unfortunately, we skipped this question and answer section. Now I request Dr. Ramakrishna Pradhan will give you the welcome address for this valedictory session. We are running of the time. Please request Dr. Ramakrishna Pradhan, please. Over to you, please.
Should we start right now?
Yes, please.
Okay. So all our guests are present?
Yes, all are here.
Okay. Then very good evening to all present over there virtually. I, Dr. Ramakrishna Pradhan, Assistant Professor in Fakirmon University, Odisha, welcomes you all to the valedictory session of the Indo-Russian Young Scholars International Conference 2021, organized by the Eurasian Foundation, New Delhi, in collaboration with the Center for Indian Studies, Institute of Oriental Studies, Russian Academy of Sciences, Moscow, Lipstick State Pedagogical Semenov Tayan Sankey University, Russia, Russian Center for Science and Culture, New Delhi, Center for Eurasian Studies, University of Mumbai, and Center for Third Voice. Actually, I was listening to some of my students in the last presentation, what I've seen, and really it's a commendable job done by Eurasian Foundation, founded by my mentor, my guide, my philosopher, the person for whom I am a teacher today, Professor Arun Mohanty. Sir, I salute you for this noble initiative because of which young minds are being grown so that they can take forward the activities, the initiatives that you have left over untimely to us. I thank Namita Madam also for taking this cause further. Dr. Suman Swahi also for being the flag bearer of this institution. And as we are standing in the valedictory session, let me tell you from the outset that India's relationship with Russia is very unique and unparalleled in the arena of international relations, because the superb friendship and the historical closeness that we share with Russia, we do not share with any other country on this planet. And that itself determines the gravity and intensity of the relationship between these two countries. And probably this closeness that we find between New Delhi and Moscow is rarely found in bilateral relationship of any other countries. If you talk about the Western countries, today France has withdrawn its has taken the decision to withdraw its ambassadors from Australia and America because of the deal that they've signed, the defense deal. That means the relationship with other countries, and when you compare it with India and Russia, we are standing a miles ahead. And sorry, in this relationship, this year we are celebrating a milestone, that is the 50th anniversary of the Treaty of Peace, Friendship and Cooperation India and Soviet Union have signed in 1971. And this treaty is unique in the history of India's relationship with other countries, or particularly with Soviet Union, in the sense, in spite of being a non-aligned country, India has decided to enter into this Treaty of Peace, Friendship and Security, which Peace, Friendship and Cooperation, which was otherwise a security guarantee treaty, a treaty which has protected India's sovereignty outrightly. That means a treaty which overwhelmingly, even if it's not mentioned, but told that any attack on India would be treated as an attack on Soviet Union. That means Soviet Union was standing behind us, in front of us, like a big brother. When there was a nexus going on between Pakistan and China to create disturbances in India, and at the same time, in the eastern border of India, particularly when Bangladesh was East Pakistan, problems were groomed so that India cannot also live in peace. During that time, under the leadership of our Prime Minister Srimati Indira Gandhi, when India entered into, intervened militarily in Bangladesh to make Bangladesh independent, it was Soviet Union and that leadership of Brezhnev who supported India forthrightly. Even when America has paraded its naval forces in the Bay of Bengal, it was Soviet Union which has given a clear warning to the rest of the world that any attack or any ill will against India would be viewed seriously. And that shows that what the depthness of India's relations with Soviet Union. And since then, despite of the disintegration of Soviet Union, in the early years of 1990s, although our relationship with Soviet Union was not strategically that great, but after 1996 and particularly with the Putin coming into power, our relationship with Soviet Russia has increased tremendously. And today I can say that India enjoys one kind of strategic warmth and smoothness with Russia that it doesn't enjoy with any other countries of the world. And this kind of platforms that we are organizing, which is being done by the Eurasian Foundation in collaboration with other eminent institutions, that will provide a food for thought for the young scholars, those who are the budding scholars, those who want to cultivate the practice of international relation, those who want to understand the foreign policies that govern the bilateral relationship and multilateral relationship of countries. This kind of practice, like organizing youth scholar conferences, will definitely instill a kind of insight and ideas in those young minds, and that will definitely in future boost the relationship of both countries. And since during two days we had a brainstorming sessions all over, and today since we are standing in the valedictory session, let me welcome on behalf of Eurasian Foundation our revered guest, His Excellency Ambassador Ashok Mukherjee sir, former diplomat and permanent representative of India to the United Nations. Sir, we are greatly honored to have you here. I extend my warm welcome to Professor Sanjay Pandey sir, my professor, my teacher, former director and chairperson, Center for Russian and Central Asian Studies, School of International Studies, JNU, New Delhi. I am delighted to welcome Professor Sanjay Deshpande, one of my favorite teachers, director of the Center for Central Eurasian Studies, University of Mumbai, Maharashtra, India. I'm equally privileged to welcome Professor Eugenia Vanina, head of the History and Cultural section and a researcher in the Center for Indian Studies in the Institute of Oriental Studies, Russian Academy of Sciences, Moscow. I'm extremely happy to welcome Professor Larissa Seresvena of Lipsek State Pedagogical University. I extend my cordial welcome to Mr. Vinay Shukla, senior journalist of Moscow Correspondence, Russia. I am happy to welcome Mr. Vasily Sagov of Russian Center of Science and Culture, New Delhi. I extend a warm welcome to all the speakers from MGIMO, St. Petersburg State University, Russia, Lipsek State Pedagogical University, Jawaharlal Nehru University, Mumbai University, Jadavpur University, Kerala Central University, IIHMR Delhi, Fakirmon University Balasore, Lovely Professional University, Indira Gandhi National Open University, and Central University of Rajasthan for sending their participant because of whom, this, event became a grand success. Now I welcome all the dignitaries, diplomats, eminent scholars, academicians, policymakers, media representatives, and research scholars from India and abroad, particularly from Japan, Russia, China, Philippines, Turkey, and Bangladesh to this, session. Now I request Professor Sanjay Pandey sir to chair the session and conduct the proceeding. But before that, sir, I would like to give a brief introduction of yours. Professor Sanjay Pandey is former director, area study and former chairperson, Center for Russian and Central Asian Studies of School of International Studies, Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi. He teaches foreign policy of Russia at the Central Asian states. He was Alan Singhvi visiting fellow at the Center of South Asian Studies, University of Cambridge. Charles Wallace. Sir, namaste. Namaskar, sir.
I suppose, Namaskar, my best introduction is that I have been your teacher. I don't need any more introduction, any other introduction. Let me start with that.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Now, sir, it's over to you. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Pranam.
Thank you so much, Ramakrishnan. And I will take your first name, and so with Sumant. And of course, my biggest thanks and appreciation is for Madam Namita Mohanty. Friends, we are celebrating not just 50 years of India-Russia, Indo-Soviet friendship, but also 75 years of India's independence, 30 years of Russia's post-Soviet existence and independence, 20 years of SCO, 15 years of BRICS, and so many other important milestones fall in this year. And there can be no better way to celebrate all these than remember the person who in many ways epitomized India-Russia friendship. That was Professor Arun Mohanty. I had the privilege of meeting Professor Mohanty in the year 2000 in Moscow. At the just beginning of this century, this millennia. And since then, I have known him as perhaps the best known expert on Russia in India. I attended many conferences with him in Russia, in India, elsewhere, and I can assure you that the depth of his knowledge and his fluency in Russian language, I mean, no one could match it. So we are thankful to Madam Namita Mohanty that she has kept his memory alive, and this platform that he has created has given a chance to, I mean, older people like me and budding scholars and upcoming scholars like Nancy and Sumant and Ramakrishnan, all of whom I have the honor, good fortune to teach. And I really feel satisfied, though a bit old, when I see that all my students are now teaching in so many universities at different places, and they have become so confident. I heard Ramakrishna speaking. I can still remember Ramakrishna in my class. And it's a very proud moment for a teacher when he sees his students emerging, evolving, budding scholars. So it's a great moment for me. So thank you all for coming to this session. We will start this session. Maybe I will speak something, but only at the end of the session. We are already running late. So the first speaker that I'm going to invite is someone, again, whom I have known for quite some time. And I have the privilege of having presided over sessions in which he was the main speaker in Teen Murti, elsewhere. I have the honor of being host to Ambassador Ashok Mukherjee when we invited him as the keynote speaker in one of the conferences in our center 5-6 years back. Ambassador Ashok Mukherjee has had the distinction of serving Indian Foreign Service for 37 years, and he retired as India's ambassador and permanent representative to the United Nations in New York in December 2015. But in his 37 years of checkered career, Ambassador Ashok Mukherjee, in fact, served in so many destinations. He was there in Russia when the Soviet Union was coming apart and Russia was emerging from the throes of the Soviet dissolution. That was 1992. He is the person who had the distinction of establishing our missions and embassies in Central Asia, literally erecting a structure that we are now seeing as delivering the promise that that was made earlier. So he served in Indian missions in Washington, in Uzbekistan. He was the Indian ambassador to Kazakhstan. He also served in Geneva, Dubai, Belgrade, and so many other destinations. He has been associated with so many of the committees which were instrumental in negotiating some of the very important deals. For example, India's deal for purchase of T-90 main battle tanks or Talwar class stealth frigates. So he was instrumental in various capacities. He has authored many books and many articles, and his knowledge of post-Soviet space is simply unmatched. Ambassador Ashok Mukherjee.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Pandey, for those words. I am meeting you virtually, but I can feel the warmth as if we are sitting next to each other. I am very happy. I first of all would like to thank Namita ji for having carried forward this vision of my dear friend, the late Professor Arun Mohanty, and the Eurasia Foundation for organizing this function, bringing together the new generation. That was Arun's primary interest, that the knowledge that we have should not remain with us, but be shared with the succeeding generations. And I think that this is something that this event is something that really carries that forward. And Namita ji, thank you very much for being there and for guiding all of us. I would, of course, like to thank Sumant, Dr. Sumant Swain, with whom I've been in touch. He is a dynamo in his own right, and I'm happy that he is handling these affairs of the Eurasia Foundation so competently and so energetically.
Thank you, sir.
I see with me on the podium Professor Eugenia Vanina. How nice to see you. Здравствуйте, Professor. Как дела?
Здравствуйте, добрый день.
Добрый день. And,
у вас уже вечер, а у нас еще день.
Уже вечером, но ничего, это в чем мире, когда будет утро, когда вечер, мы точно не знаем. Я рад вас видеть.
Я тоже.
And of course, Vinay Shuklaji, one of my oldest colleagues from the time I was in Moscow, a friend, philosopher, and guide for me. He has been, and I'm very happy that he is now with Disha and carrying on the work that he did almost single-handedly after Arun left Moscow for so many years. So I'm really very happy, I feel, among friends, and of course the other distinguished speakers on today's session, whom I do not know personally. My greetings to you as well. When Sumant asked me to speak today, he said that you are free to choose what you want. And I thought that it is the 50th anniversary in August 9th this year. It was the 50th anniversary of the Indo-Soviet Treaty of Peace, Friendship, and Cooperation. So I wanted to actually say something today in the framework of the provisions of that treaty, because in diplomacy and in politics and in our day-to-day lives, treaties are very important considered documents. They do not lose their validity, and they actually bring together several topics and several issues, put them in a framework, and provide a foundation for carrying things forward. And so it has been with the Indo-Soviet Treaty of August 1971. When I look at the provisions of the treaty, the first one recognizes India's non-aligned foreign policy as an important factor in the maintenance of international peace and security. That was in August 1971. We fast forward to today, 50 years later, and India's policy of strategic autonomy is, I would argue, an evolution of our non-aligned foreign policy. And this policy of strategic autonomy that we follow today is adaptation to the changed nature of the world in which we live in. If in 1971, we were living in the world, the Cold War world, in 2021, we live in a multipolar world. And I think the adaptation of non-alignment to strategic autonomy is a reflection of the change that has taken place in international relations. The second provision of the treaty that I found interesting was its commitment to regular contacts on both sides. And I think for me, this has been one of the biggest achievements of our bilateral relations in the last 30 years. We have, since the emergence of independent Russia, and of course, the emergence of India, which shook off its economic, which introduced its economic reforms and shook off the perceived inertia in the economic area from 1991 onwards. So the new realities of our two countries have been captured by the regular contacts that have been maintained between our two countries. And in that, I would point to the significance of the annual summit mechanism, which was introduced by President Putin in his first official visit to India in October 2000, and which was accepted and built upon by his host, Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee. This is a symbol of the new incarnation of India-Russia relations in the 21st century. The summit has enabled regular contacts, which were foreseen in the Treaty of 1971, in the hugely expanded interaction that takes place between our countries today, whether it is in the informal summit mechanism, which was introduced in Sochi a couple of years ago between the two political leaders, or the Intergovernmental Commission, the Military Technical Commission, and the focused working groups on both sides. I would also add that in recent years, we have added multiple stakeholder structure to the concept of regular contacts, and that is best symbolized by events like we are doing today, which bring together academia, civil society, youth, and in St. Petersburg, a couple of years ago, we put together a business structure as well. So I would say that the focus of the 1971 treaty on regular contacts has been fleshed out by the way in which India and Russia have developed their relations. One area which I wanted to talk about today a little bit is often taken for granted, but I think it's important to focus on it, and that is the commitment of the treaty to economic, scientific, and technological cooperation. In 1971, that was the dream, the vision, and it got fleshed out quite soon thereafter in 1972 by the agreement between India and the Soviet Union through the Academy of Sciences. We saw the first visible outcome of this interaction in the launch of the Aryabhata satellite, which was not only launched with the help and cooperation of the Soviet Union, but also which was a made in India product. And I think that that's the importance of this cooperation, that it was not a buyer-seller relationship, but it was a relationship in which there was a transfer of knowledge and of technology. That is something that distinguishes India's relationship with Russia today from India's relationship with all the other strategic partners we have, including the United States of America. I think that this is something that is important to understand, appreciate, and build upon. because in the strategic autonomy that we have as our guiding policy today, we need the autonomy to depend on ourselves. The word that we are using now in policy is Atma Nirbharta, or self-reliance. And for self-reliance, we have to continue to have the independence of manufacturing and of using and of even exporting items that we make in partnership with our strategic partner, and especially with Russia. The other aspect which I thought was relevant for our remembering today is the launch of the first Indian cosmonaut to space in April 1984, Rakesh Sharma. That is resonating today as we hear of the preparations for the launch of the first Indian manned mission in space in 2023. It is going to be called Gaganyaan. And once again, it is Russia and not any other country with which India is partnering in this sphere. So this is something that is extremely important because it enables us to cooperate in areas of the cutting edge of technology with the objective of technology transfer. And this approach is guiding us in so many areas, from metallurgy to vaccine manufacturing to advanced computing, biotechnology, Ayurveda, and fossil fuels. In fact, at the Sochi Informal Summit, the two sides have brought together youth to contribute in a similar framework through a partnership between the Sirius facility in Sochi and the Atal Innovation Mission in India. So this is, I think, important for us. And of course, when we move on to the other provision of that of the treaty for economic cooperation, I would just say that the challenges of history, which have been referred to by speakers before me in this event and which is known to most of the observers of our bilateral relations, these challenges of history have been now integrated into the vision for the future that we have jointly announced most recently at the Vladivostok summit, in which our mutual investments now in the energy sector are already over $30 billion. And we have a trade turnover target of $30 billion by 2025, in 4 years' time from now. And in that, a special initiative which could only have been taken in the context of our special relationship between India and Russia is the $1 billion line of credit to Russia's Far East, which India has announced. It has not been done with any other strategic partner of India. So that speaks for itself. Now, a speaker before me today talked about Kudam Kalam, and I'm happy he did, because not only is Kudam Kalam the most visible outcome of India's successful negotiation of the removal of nuclear sanctions and nuclear restrictions on India through the IAEA and the non-proliferation and the NPG, but also it is the most visible symbol of the only strategic partner of India which has actually come into India and built on the removal of these restrictions by bringing on stream the generators, the nuclear energy generators in Tamil Nadu, which are expected when they complete this in 2027, which are expected, these 6 reactors, to generate 6,000 megawatts of electricity, which will supply India and contribute to India's energy security. Now, the treaty, and this is where the politics comes in, the treaty was signed at a time when, as the speakers have said before me, we were in the middle of a crisis with the unrest in the former East Pakistan and the tremendous flow of 10 million refugees into India. Today, when people talk of hosting 2 million refugees from Afghanistan and so on, I think they forget that as a country, India, in 1971, we hosted 10 million refugees. So we have gone through this process. But we went through it with a strategic vision, and the treaty formulated that vision to collaborate countering aggression and threats to the security of each other. And that was what enabled the Soviet Union in those momentous 14 days in December 1971 to cast 3 historic vetoes on proposals to bring the emergence of Bangladesh to a halt. That was the intention of the proposals of these resolutions, which were moved by the Western countries. in the Security Council, calling for a ceasefire 3 times. And 3 times the Soviet Union vetoed those resolutions, allowing the Indian army not only to complete the task of liberating Bangladesh, but also eventually repatriating the bulk of the refugees who came to India back to their homeland and withdrawing. The Indian army withdrew from Bangladesh and left Bangladesh completely independent and sovereign. That is a lesson that probably if 1971-72, which the world should take note of even today when we look at the other side of our borders and what is happening in Afghanistan. I mean, this is a very, very important lesson of that treaty. Now, some mention was made about the defense cooperation, and I was fortunate, as has been mentioned, of having been in Moscow when we finally saw the results of our joint cooperation, the deliveries of the T-90 tanks, the deliveries of the Sukhoi 30 MKI aircraft, and the deliveries of the Talwar stealth frigates. But beyond that, there was also the period for the refurbishment of the aircraft carrier, today called the Vikramaditya, as well as the most successful India-Russia strategic program, defense program, that is the BrahMos missile program. So this relationship in the last 20 years has actually acquired a new technological dimension. It is a showcase for what the two countries can do together when they work together. And I think that at an event like this, where young scholars and the young generation is present, it's important to not only look at the economic and the commercial aspect of this strategic partnership, but also at the human aspect of the strategic partnership. Vinayji knows I have been fortunate to travel to the factories in the Russian Federation where so many components of our strategic defense cooperation are manufactured. This has had a direct impact on the human security of employment generation, of making people stay in their country and work for their country. I think, I want to mention it because today again, there's this thrust on evacuating people who don't want to live in Afghanistan to some other countries. Why should people have to leave their homes? Why should they not be able to work in their homeland, to build in their homeland, to contribute to their homeland? This is the message of the 1971 treaty, that we are going to look after the security of each other so that peace, prosperity will prevail in our own countries. And I think that we need to actually apply this lesson to situations, as I mentioned, which are around our borders today. And of course, the final area, and that is an area which is, I know, area very near and dear to our colleagues and friends from Russia who are in the discussion today, is the impact of the treaty on our people-to-people relationship. If I were to be asked as to what is the one document which symbolizes India-Russia strategic partnership, our privileged and special strategic partnership today, I would say that it is the 1971 treaty. And the reason is because it brought together two words that are so crucial in interaction between countries and peoples. And those two words are mutual trust. This treaty was the symbol of mutual trust, and that mutual trust has now been upgraded in the new India-Russia strategic partnership with various other documents that have come. But the spirit of the 1971 treaty, the spirit of mutual trust, is the guiding spirit of our bilateral relations. And I am happy that last year in January, before the pandemic came, we were able to launch a very forward-looking initiative here in New Delhi of the Ganga-Volga dialogue. And I do hope that many in the audience today will take time to go back and look at the outcome of that dialogue and see how we can use that dialogue to bring a new generation of Indians and Russians together to carry forward the spirit of mutual trust that the 1971 treaty symbolizes. I thank you, Sanjay ji, for giving me this opportunity to speak today. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador Ashok Mukherjee. Thank you for reminding our young scholars about the history of our relationship, about the legacy about some of the important events and achievements that our partnership, most important partnership that India has produced in the last 50 years. So some of the vignettes from your personal experiences and memories were very useful and interesting. I'm very sure our friends, our young scholars benefited from it. And all of us emphasize the uniqueness of India-Russia partnership and friendship. Something which I keep telling my students is the fact that both India and Russia basically are non-West. Neither Russia, in typically restrictive meaning of West, falls within that category, although it has a lot of civilizational similarities with Europe, with West. But nevertheless, in the last 300 years or even longer, Russia has chartered an independent course of development, civilizational, historical, cultural development, whether it was the Slavophile ideology or the Eurasianist ideology that guided the Russian leaders. But one thing was very clear, that Russia has its own uniqueness and specificity and cannot be clubbed together with any other country, and certainly not with Europe or the West. Similarly, India also has had a very unique civilization of its own. We are often referred to as, both India and Russia are referred to as civilization states. And both countries in the last 200-300 years, India certainly in the last 75 years, has tried to maintain what Ambassador Mukherjee called our strategic autonomy, whether it was the non-aligned policy, which in a way sought the same objective of maintaining independence in the bloc divided world that we had before the end dissolution of Soviet Union. So the two countries, apart from being friends and allies, also share many similarities in terms of their cultural and historical experience. Thank you very much, Ambassador Mukherjee. The next speaker that we have today, we have in fact very eminent speakers today. The next speaker would be Professor Vanina, I understand. Yes. Eugenia Vanina is the head of History and Cultural Section and a researcher in the Center for Indian Studies, Institute of Oriental Studies, Russian Academy of Sciences, Moscow. In fact, most of the young scholars from my center who visit Moscow, most of them are hosted by Professor Vanina. They get their letter of invitation for her. And during their stay in Moscow, they are hosted and helped by Professor Vanina in so many ways. Professor Vanina also stayed in Delhi and learned Hindi and Sanskrit. She has at least 6 books and 15 research papers on India, and her understanding of India, she being an Indologist, is for those who know the area, it is something that they know about very well. Professor Vanina.
Dear colleagues, dear chairperson, I'm extremely grateful to Namita ji and to Sumanji who organized this conference. And I think the soul of Arun Mohanty has been invisibly guarding us during this conference. It was Arun Mohanty and other colleagues from GNU who made me some kind of an unofficial guardian of the students who come from GNU to Moscow, and who will come, I hope so, if God will help us and take this COVID corona horrible thing away. I think that such conferences where young scholars and not very young scholars and not very young scholars come together are extremely helpful, because they bring together different approaches and they make young scholars feel themselves real scholars and benefit from each other and from interaction with the scholars who have an experience. Many interesting things were prepared and said during this conference. What I would like to suggest to our young colleagues, to take the relations between India and Russia, to discuss them in a deeper way. Why do our countries, which had been quite far from each other, how come that they came together and became friends and partners? If we go to history, this process was long. We as if we're searching for each other in the map, coming closer to each other in the map. I may be proud to tell you that Russia was perhaps the only country in Europe which doubted the right of the British to control and to govern India. You will be surprised to know that Nikolai Novikov, a celebrated Russian journalist, at the end of the 18th century wrote, those Indian peoples will throw these Europeans out of their land one after the other. 18th century. 18th century. It was not because he knew India better than anybody. He just said that it is a strange accident in the history that such a rich and civilized people have been so brutally enslaved. Russia perhaps was the only country which totally was in empathy with the Indian freedom fighters. Why was it? It is a matter of further discussion and further research. There is something which brings us closer. Ambassador Mukherjee has mentioned some of these aspects. Yes, civilization. Yes, civilization. Maybe the fact that we are both and have been maligned, dishonored, slandered by Europe equally. We have been the bad guys for European culture for the last 2 centuries.
Please.
Any problem? I'm
No.
not audible. You know, we have been the bad guys for Europe, for the last 2 centuries at least. Russians are horrible, Russians are always drunk, Russians are this, Russians are that, you know all these stories. Indians are also horrible, and you know, even in Charlotte Bronte's celebrated novel Jane Eyre, when the school principal wants to condemn the heroine as a liar, he says that she's a liar and she is so vicious as the young follower of the Jagannath. You know, he supposed that even children of 10 years should be offended by this comparison with the Indian devotees of God Jagannath. We together have been the bad guys for Europe and for the United States for the last 2 centuries. I think it also has some historical reason and historical meaning, because there is something on the Western civilization which we both do not accept. Although we try to take from it what is beneficial. Indian reformers, Russian reformers definitely studied from Europe. But it never made them aligned to their own culture. You know that Peter the Great, after he vanquished the Swedish army in 1709, he invited all the imprisoned Swedish officers for a heavy drink in his tent and raised the toast for my teachers, to my teachers. He praised them as teachers because this made it possible for him to win. I think we must come closer, come deeper in history for finding the roots of our friendship and partnership. Otherwise, it will be just superficial. But you know, India wants missiles, Russia sells missiles. India wants such an equipment, Russia sells this equipment. If we go only by this logic, then we shall see that say that the main reason for our cooperation is the aggressive policy of India's neighbors. And thanks to it, that we are friendly and cooperative with each other. I think it is not the case. We have been and we will be. Notwithstanding what is Pakistan is doing and what some other countries are doing, we will be friends and partners because we are very close in spirit. Despite heavy differences, there are very close features, there are very similar features in our civilizations. And we are close in our struggle, in our resistance to the aggressive forms of Western imperialism, of terrorism, of many other evils that bring suffering to people. Some countries do not know what is a terror attack. India knows, Russia knows quite well and understands it well. So we are together because we can help each other and because we understand each other very, very well. I had a chance to meet many Russian people who came to India for some business or for something, who had never been in India before. And you know what they told me? I don't know why I feel myself so comfortably, as if I have been there in India many times. Not speaking a word in Hindi, not knowing anything, some spiritual, some, you know, deeper inner attraction. I don't know why, but we have to research it. If we omit it from our research, we shall just limit ourselves to missiles, to submarines, to these kind of things, which are too, of course, they're important, but they do not cover the whole scope of our relationship. And in this fight against COVID, we are also together. So my dear young scholars, my dear young colleagues, let us try to find what is hidden and not only what is open. So with this, I am giving you my blessings and thank the organizers for this wonderful conference.
Thank you very much, Professor Vanina. You have been an angel for our students, and I hope and believe that you will continue to help them during their visits to Moscow.
Let them
you very
come.
rightly mentioned. Yes, they will.
Let them
they
come.
will.
Let them come.
They will. Hopefully. I'm very sure that by the end of this year, early next year, things will be better, will be normal, and the old exchange
Bhagwan sune
will.
aapki baat. May God hear you.
भगवान आपकी बात जरूर सुनेगा, मेरी सुने ना सुने, आप जैसे लोग जो भारत प्रेमी हैं, who have kept Indology alive, definitely आपकी बात सुनेगा.
There is a saying in my center, Indology is not a profession, it is a diagnosis.
Very, very well said. And people are Indologists not just because of their training, but also because their heart lies in it. They feel connected to India, just as many people like Dr. Arun Mohanty, Professor Arun Mohanty, they felt connected to Russia, and we have so many others. Our next speaker, and of course, Vanina ji very rightly reminded us that how both Russia and India have been the bad boys in recent 10 years. Maybe Europe and US has started taking note of India for very geopolitical reasons, but perhaps their understanding and empathy for India is nothing when you compare for the type of connect that India and Indians get in Russia, in Moscow, and when they meet people like Professor Vanina. Friends, the next speaker that we have is yet another academic professor whom we all know very well. She is Professor Larisa Chereshneva. She is Doctor of History and Professor, Head of Oriental Studies, Laboratory of Leipzig, State Pedagogical University. She is Scientific Director of Masters and Postgraduate Program and Deputy Chairperson of Dissertation Council. She is Honorary Worker of Higher Professional Education of India. Like the previous speakers, she also has many publications to her credit. Professor Larisa Chereshneva.
Good evening. Namaste. I'm very glad to greet all the chairpersons, all the organizers of this Congress. I would like to say my very warm words to my colleagues in GNU, in Eurasian Foundation, Mr. Ashok Mukherjee, Mr. Suman Swain, my dear Amita Mohanty, Mr. Sanjay Pandey, to my colleagues from Russia, Tatiana Lvovna Shaumyan, Evgenia Yuryevna Vanina, and all the participants of the conference. Thank you very much for the opportunity to present the reports of my students. Yes, I am from Lipetsk region, and we know that India and Russia are strategic partners, but the other form of the cooperation is the Indo-Russian partnership between regions. On the example of my own Lipetsk region, it took an active part in the industrialization of India, in the foundation of Bhilai, Bokaro, and many other industrial centers, you know. Now we develop the industrial, commercial, and scientific cooperation. As for my laboratory, Oriental Laboratory of the Lipetsk State Pedagogical Semenov Tianshan University, well, it was established in 2002 and works under my guidance for all these years. The visits of the Indian ambassador Lamba in our city and in our university in 2002. Then the visit of the head of the political department of the India embassy, Yojna Patel, in 2017 with young Indian diplomats were the events for our city and our university and laboratory as well. Then our cooperation with the Center for Russian and Central Asian Studies of Nehru University of our beloved GNU, thanks to late Professor Arun Mohanty, to all our colleagues in GNU. Scientific works of mine in daily contacts with the students of GNU and postgraduates, all that proves for me, for my colleagues, the importance of the regional cooperation. Thus, I see the consolidation of the two countries will not only strengthen the economic situation of Russia and India, but also increase their authority in international arena. And I am very proud, I am proud to say that people diplomacy is one of the most important part of this cooperation. I completely agree with my dear colleague, Eugene Vanina. I'm glad to visit Eugene in this conference online, that there is some deep inner attraction between our people, between Russian and Indian peoples. And I always feel it when I in Delhi in GNU, in the crowd of Indian peoples on Barkaham Road, on Bangali Market, everywhere. So I would like to finish my short speech and once again say thank you very much for the opportunity of our communication and achievement of our friendship. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Chereshneva, for reiterating the fundamentals of India-Russia friendship, which has stood the test of time. Thank you very much. Friends, at the beginning, I said there are very few who can match Professor Arun Mohanty's understanding, in-depth knowledge about Russia. Well, I was only partly right. I was partly wrong in the sense that in Mr. Vinay Shukla, we have another person who has nearly half a century of knowledge and understanding of Russia, which is as intimate and deep as anyone else's. He has been with UNI and PTI. He has been the most, I would say, the best known Indian correspondent functioning in Moscow. We have heard him and we have read many of his pieces and articles. Our students, I'm very sure, are very familiar with you, Vinayji. Vinayji, please.
Good evening, friends. Thank you very much for such a compliment and all that. First of all, I would like to thank Namita that she's brought all the friends of Arun together. Feel like, say, sitting in the drawing room in the presence of, and it's good that we understand each other. And Sanjay Pandey, Professor, I'm so happy that I can see all of you. Dr. Suman Swain also, he works so much, he stands so much these things, and I feel at home with the people around. I know, and they know me, and Ambassador Mukherjee, we have seen not only personally, I mean, we have interacted so much closely in the different times in Russia when Russia was undergoing all these things. But today, when we talk about the Indo-Russian Friendship Treaty, that is not forget that it is the cornerstone of today's relations, by the way, in spite of the fact that Russia is a different country. Why I am saying it's cornerstone? Because you see, as a spin-off of this treaty, we have got very good friends in Central Asia. Ambassador Mukherjee can say that because it is the effect of that Soviet treaty. And we had 1 year long festival of India in Soviet Union. So I think that we have to see that this treaty, our relations based on that thing, our relations are rooted in the past, but they are forward looking. That is also a fact. Imagine that when Rajiv Gandhi signed with Gorbachev about this scientific cultural agreement, long-term in ILTP, integrated long-term program, and construction of a nuclear station in Kudankulam, India was a pariah. We were nowhere. And thanks to these programs, they continued even after the breakup of the USSR. I was privy how President Boris Yeltsin issued special funds to send to continue the projects, though Russia was very say cash-strapped at that time. And because 35,000, as I was told by people, Indian Russian scientists, they were in personal contact there. And you see this Hyderabad powder metallurgy, this institute, this was created after the break of the USSR, when Russia had not money, no money, but this was allocated. The same thing is with Bivcol, which produces polio, this vaccine. So I think this is not because some papers were signed or something like that, but I think it is the magnetism of both the countries, both the people, is the one which is keeping us together. And this is continuing. But you see, the what is a matter of concern, that uh, when you go through the Indian media or the general discussions there outside the expert community, you find that a lot of false narratives are there, which to the great extent influence our policies. Like there was a Primakov readings here in Primakov Institute this summer, and I was there, and one of the idea was or concern was that false narratives have started dominating Indian uh, discourse, like uh, Russia, China, Pakistan axis. It's taken as granted. It is just as if it's a reality. And what happened that since we don't have people like Arun Mohanty, who know who knew the ground realities here, it's just taken as a how it, say that it's just taken as a full reality in India. And it very often, when you go through this uh, mm, narratives, which do influence our relationship. And I think that I'm so happy that that there's young people have come to take up the place, and they will continue this tradition of our great friendship and strategic partnership. And strategic partnership is just not about, as somebody said, that it's not the rockets. It's our attraction of civilizations. Russia is a civilization. Some people say, what it is, it's no. I say, look, in India, say, when we say that we are a Hindu country, yes, okay, we have people in Punjab, but we have got Hindus in Northeast. So it is we can be racially, ethnically different. The same way the Russian idea, Russian, say, church or whatever culture, has united the people belonging to different ethnic groups, and they are Russian. They take them as Russians. So that way we have got very much uh, common mechanism of, say, Russianness or Indianness. So these are the things why I'm talking about these things, because we are going to have soon this 30th anniversary of the breakup of the USSR. You know that in China there are some, not one or several institutes who are studying what happened, why country like that just broke apart. So I think in India, the new scholars in Russia, we should have uh, some sort of maybe joint project, to understand what happened. What happened? Our huge country, which everybody was, no, of course, in a huge country with such, not everybody is always happy, because there are always people who are not happy. It's everywhere. It's a normal thing. So, but why just overnight this happened? So these are the things I think we should focus, because this is it should be a lesson for not only for a lesson also, but the guiding force for our future young people who are just coming here and are going to continue after us. We are the stage, rocket stage. We have done our thing and let them take over. So I think since a lot of academic people are here, I would like that to some extent we should have some sort of the group understand, because this is like a Eurasian Foundation is the best for this, because it is the reason being that Soviet Union was a Eurasian state, a civilizational state, because there was, and I'm surprised that Soviet Union is not there 30 years, but the idea of thinking, the mentality, it is not it's common among the people who belong to different say ethnic groups or languages, but they think alike. So I think this will be a good thing, and for Indian, since Russia is also a multi-ethnic, even after the breakup, it remains a multi-ethnic state. So I think this experience, because the social sciences have been totally ignored, and I think that this social sciences should study all these things very seriously, because 30 years are enough just to say, make some sense of what happened and how it happened and how it could happen. Very interesting. I mean, say, we have seen at that same time Yugoslavia, a multi-ethnic state, disintegrated after that Soviet Union, and well, people are thinking of about India also. So let us come. We should. I think social sciences, all these things have to be understood, because learning from past mistakes is also good. That is also a good. Our relationship provides a solid ground for all these things. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vinayji, for telling our students about important contribution that Soviet Union and Russia made to our industrial development. Our space program, Ambassador Ashok Mukherjee referred to the 1975 launch of Aryabhatta, the 1984 first Indian in space, Rakesh Sharma, that was also due to the Soviet help and assistance. I'm very sure our young scholars know very well what has been the contribution of Soviet Union to our industrial development. I mean, whether it was Bokaro or Bhilai or Digboi, oil exploration, or Bhel, the Bharat Heavy Electrical, whether it was Kudankulam, Vinayji referred to ILTP, the 1987 Gorbachev-Rajiv Gandhi agreement, which initially, that was the first time when the proposal for Kudankulam was mooted. 10 years later, the agreement was signed, and of course, subsequently it was built. So the immense contribution, if India today is the third largest, fourth largest, or fifth largest, depends how you see the size of our economy, purchasing power parity or otherwise, it is to some extent, maybe to a great extent, people like Vinayji would tell us, due to the timely help and assistance that Soviet Union provided to our industrial and technological development. Also, thank you for reminding us, for telling our students that both what binds the two countries together is not geopolitics. It is the fact that we two are perhaps the two most diverse societies in the world. President Putin visited India for the first time in October 2000. And on 4th of October 2000, he addressed a joint session of Indian Parliament in which he said that India and Russia are the two most diverse countries in the world. He went on to commend India's accommodation and management of this diversity, and even said that perhaps Russia can learn something from India's experience of accommodating and managing diversity. I can say that perhaps India can also learn something from how Russia has tried to accommodate diversity, about which Vinayji was talking about. Our students know, Vinayji, that in 1997, the law on religions in Russia recognized 4 religions as traditional religions of Russia. Traditional word is important, and it is not just Orthodox Christianity, but also Islam, also Buddhism and Judaism. So Buddhism has been a part of Russian historical cultural experience, very much like India's. So these are the things that bind the two countries together. So thank you very much, Vinayji, for reminding us about our commonalities. Friends, the next speaker that we have, and we are talking about our culture. So
Sir,
it is
excuse me,
only
sir.
appropriate. Yes.
Excuse me. Sir, due to Duma election will be tomorrow, Rozovsky will be not here. Nobody will be there. Then invite Dr. Sanjay Deshpande for vote of thanks.
All right, all right, all right. Now, Professor Sanjay Deshpande is another, I would say, another of those legacies of the past who have, although he's relatively young, he's younger to me, but in terms of his knowledge and expertise on Russia, on Soviet Union, he's far ahead. And as I said, the legacy of Professor Arun Mohanty, which people like Vinay Shukla or Nandan Unnikrishnan or Sanjay Deshpande. So perhaps he is among those last of those giants who studied during the Soviet period and who know Russia like the palm of their hand. Professor Sanjay Deshpande. I have the honor of sharing my name. And you know, he is Sanjay Deshpande. His name is longer than mine. So similarly, his knowledge and understanding of Russia is more than mine. And of course, he is my closest friend.
Yes, thank you, Sanjay. For your introduction, you always say that I am Sanjay Pandey, you are Deshka Pandey, Sanjay Deshpande. Yes, thanks to you for this introduction. I knew that you will introduce me in this way only. So, so this is apart. Good evening, everyone. I have been asked by Eurasian Foundation, though I am part of the organizing committee. My Center for Eurasian Study, Central Eurasian Studies is a partner in this event, and we will remain partner in many more activities. And one more thing that Professor Gizadubli could not make it, though he was present, but some technical problem. He was trying to tell that our center is celebrating Golden Jubilee year this year, 50 years. And we have organized many programs, and with help of you all, and of course Eurasian Foundation, we will be collaborating with Eurasian Foundation and Disha Moscow. Of course, Vinayji's guidance will be very, very much immense in that. I will come to you for guidance and help, and of course Russian and Central Asian Studies Center in JNU, where all are my friends, starting from that's Professor Devendraji Kaushik, and till there's the youngest in the center, Rashmini Koparkar. With the help of all of you, surely we will celebrate this Golden Jubilee years. And today I have been asked or assigned to sum up and deliver vote of thanks. though I have spoken more than 25 minutes in the inaugural session, so I will not go into detail in that. But 3-day deliberations on this topic, India-Russia Friendship Treaty, Peace and Friendship Treaty, which was signed in 1971 by Andre Gromyko and Sardar Swaran Singh, the External Affairs Minister, in August 1971. Were very fruitful. Young scholars from not only India, from Russia, but many others and many universities presented wide range of issues related to Indo-Russian relations. Majority of the papers were very interesting, though I could not attend all. And I had today I traveled nearly 9 hours by road from Aurangabad to Mumbai. So it was a very tiring one. And yesterday also I could not attend all. That is this mean my fault, and I missed so many things. But some papers were very interesting. Here I will sum up in just 3 to 4 minutes. India and Russia have all the potential that's for improving their interaction for mutual advantage. There are enormous potential to improve our relations in all possible areas like economy, trade, particularly defense, culture, science and technology. I must say there's a new area emerging. This is tourism. One of my students is working on India-Russia cooperation in tourism, education, and many others. Both the sides want each other to play a much longer role in global and regional affairs. Our Professor Sanjay Pandey briefed about this, and Ambassador Mukherjee has elaborated this. They have involved in many regional organizations. They are working together like BRICS, Shanghai Cooperation Organization, Russia, India, China. This is triangle to meet local challenges. There are many like terrorism, drug trafficking, small and arms issues, and Russia wants or Russia helping India to emerge as a stronger power, not only in Asia, but in Eurasian region also. And so therefore, Russia should integrate its economy into Eurasian region in Russia's Far East. This is my submission. This is my argument. The strategic vision of both the countries helping the creation of a multipolar world and integration initiatives they are taking in Eurasia and South Asia also. The two sides are also looking at expanding cooperation in Central Asia and the possibility of supplementing bilateral exercises with trilateral and multilateral ones. They are also scheduled to hold a maiden 2+2 ministerial dialogue. They should, what I feel, they should look at how they can cooperate in using India as a production base for exporting Russian origin equipment and services to third countries, and would add to Make in India program as a success. And India, I believe that this initiative will be taken up in 2+2 ministerial dialogue surely, and of course at the summit level by the end of this year. I do not know what the dates, the exact dates. They have not been finalized yet. Vinayji must be knowing this, what is the tentative date of the next summit between our Prime Minister and Russian President. And there is no doubt that Russia will remain a key defense partner for India in future also. And we have very good relations in all sectors, as I mentioned in that. But the weakest link is the trade. The trade is very less, just 13 to 15 billion dollars. So therefore, we have to work to improve economic relations. And in this in this context, I must say that international north-south trade corridor will play surely play a vital role. But in this context, there's India, Russia, and Iran should work tandemly. They should work together, and surely India's trade with Russia will be increased. Now, I stop here. Just I wanted to say sum up this in there. But one thing is that India and Russia will remain friends in future also. This is 100%. There is no doubt, because Russia always help India in many international issues, and so therefore India also should work tandemly with Russia and should keep balance between the major powers of the world, so while keeping relations with other countries also. So therefore, I stop here, and now I have some one more assignment. My sincere gratitude to Ambassador Ashok Mukherjee for gracing this event by his presence and guidance. As usual, it was a brilliant presentation, but because of time limit, we could not give you time, Ashokji. So therefore, next time, in last year also, we spoke in our, you spoke in our one of the webinars, how India and Russia can work together, not only in Eurasia, but in other parts of the world also. My thanks go to the speakers in the valedictory section. Of course, our dear friend, Evgenina Varina, Larissa Chereshneva from Lipetsk, senior journalist Vinay J. Shukla, and my dear Sanjay Pandey, not Professor Sanjay, my dear friend, for chairing this session. And I'm thankful to all the chairpersons of these sessions, Dr. Neelu Khosla, Dr. Preeti Das, Dr. Nancy Paulraj, for chairing the session. And of course, young scholars who have contributed immensely in 3-day deliberations, various types of this very, very different kinds of titles they have brought, and they have discussed, they have presented, they have given, some of them have given some suggestions. It's very good and very heartening to know that young scholars are attracting towards Russia and Russian affairs and events in Russia. So it's very heartening to know. And teacher like all this in Delhi, in Mumbai, in Kashmir will be very happy to know that, yes, we are attracting young scholars. And lastly, I must say thanks to Namita, our dear friend, Suman Sven, and Ramakrishna. So like Sanjay, I will say that Sumant and Rama, I call in Ramakrishna, and of course Nancy also, for their, they have been working tirelessly. And the day before yesterday, Suman said, I have been disturbing many Sanjay sir ko, matlab Deshpande ko bahut pareshan kiya. No, I thought it was my duty to guide you, because sometimes you had some issues, some problems, you needed some assistance and guidance. So therefore, it was my duty. I always thought that, yes, to tell you something that you should do in this way.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Yes, and of course, Eurasian Foundation for organizing this. This is a very timely organized seminar, webinar to mark the golden jubilee year of the Treaty of Friendship, peace and friendship between India and Russia. So I am thankful to everyone that all of you, there's Eurasian Foundation, that you gave us opportunity to be the part and part of this event. So thank you so much. And I hope that in future also we will work together. And I, of course, need help from Ambassador Mukherjee for his guidance, Vinayji, and Center for Russian and Central Asian Studies, everyone, and young scholars like you, Sumant, Rama, and others. So thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to talk 2 times in 3 days. So thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. Namita ma'am, want to say something, please?
Am I audible?
Yes, yes, you are audible.
Yes. Okay. Good evening, everybody. Namaskar. Thank you very much, sir. Actually, on behalf of Indo-Russian Foundation, we would like to thank everybody, the distinguished guest, the chief speaker, Ambassador Ashok Mukherjee, and other speakers, other professors, Professor Evgenia Vanina, Professor Larissa Cheresnova, senior journalist, Mr. Vinay Shukla, Professor Sanjay Pandey from JNU, Professor Deshpande from Mumbai, and my dear friends or children, young friends, Suman, Nancy, and Subrat and Ramkrishna for their support, which made this evening, this 3-day International Youth Conference, a grand success. And I hope those youngsters, those presenters, the research scholars, those who have participated in this 3-day conference, they have given their profound views, opinions, and I hope they are our futures. They will carry this relationship for the 2 great nations, India and Russia. So I hope that everything in future will be great, successful relationship between these 2 great nations. And I hope my best wishes are there. And long live Indo-Russian friendship, long live Indo-Russian growth for these 2 great nations. Hope for the best. Thank you, everybody. Thank you very much for the support, for everything. Thank you. Thank you. Namaskar.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Namita dear.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for your
Thank you.
support and cooperation.
Thank you.
Sir.